All right, welcome back to Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. The Bills' schedule release is out, but before we dive in, please be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I see Dan nodding his head. I see Mike nodding his head. That means I got the seal of approval. That means we can start. All right, let's get into it.
Well done.
The Bills' schedule, we know it's going to be a challenging one. A lot of divisional teams that won last year in terms of that. But Mike, what do you make of the schedule for the Bills, knowing a lot of expectations, and it's
Yeah.
going to be quite a test.
Well, the expectations should be high. This is a team that should have won the Super Bowl a year ago. They're playing in the game in LA, a game they should be hosting. We all know that. They should have won in Kansas City. They would have beaten Cincinnati, and I think they would have beaten the Rams. So go out and try to prove that right from the beginning. I love that they're in that game. I think it's going to be fun. The Bills have never been in that game before in either side of it, so that'll be good. Then they come right home with a few extra days. That's the good thing about that Thursday game to begin.
Yeah.
Not that it matters against your individual opponent because you're both just starting the year, but it does help to give you some extra days for the next week. So 4 out of 6 on the road to get started. They're going to be tested, but I like the fact that they are a prime time team again this year in 2022.
Yeah, we talked about it last year. We're like, oh, they're prime time. This year, they're prime time. Like this year, it's even bigger games. 5 primetime games plus Thanksgiving, which now they are now playing for the 3rd time in 4 years. And now they're in the Detroit slot. They're in the early slot of that game too. And they could also have possibility of another late game flex later in the year. So look, they've had expectations. It just seems like it's ratcheted up another notch when they are, there's going to be primetime games against Aaron Rodgers, and there's primetime games against Matt Stafford, and there's primetime games against Patrick Mahomes again. It just seems like the expectations, if possible, have grown. Like things haven't simmered with the Bills' expectations.
Yeah.
They've only boiled more.
But they should. They should,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're one of those teams now.
I agree.
It's just crazy. Like, where are the 1 o'clock games?
Okay, that's as someone, and Bills fans might feel this way too, but like just to see the trajectory of this team, like we talked about Jerry Hughes this week because he's moving on to the Houston Texans. Like Jerry Hughes was in Buffalo when Doug Marrone was the head coach. Now he's leaving, and it's like to see where this team has gone. We used to be like, will the Bills ever get a primetime game? Now they have 5 plus things, or 5, and then Thanksgiving on top of that. So I think I know what you're saying, Dan, where you're like, the 1 o'clock slot, it feels like is so far away. And like, I just look at the schedule and I'm like, wow, this is like, we knew the Bills, what the expectations were, but it's like, even that, I feel like just looking at the schedule, like the anxiety is even higher now looking at the opponents too, because Mike, I mean, we knew who they were going to play, but the way it all shakes out, like it's going to be tough from the jump.
Oh, look at it right from the beginning. So you're playing the Super Bowl champs. Then you're playing a Titans team that beat you on Monday Night Football a year ago.
AFC.
Yeah. Then you go to Miami. Then you go to Baltimore. Then you're home against Mitchell Trubisky and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then you go to Kansas City to get to your bye week. And I'm not saying it's survived. The Bills are too good to be just thinking about surviving at this point. But come on, that is massive tests to begin the year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's the breather in that group? Against Pittsburgh?
Steelers.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And who knows how they're going to be? We know their defense can be really good.
Right.
Maybe they've gotten better quarterback play. So I think they better come out of training camp ready to go because the rest of the league's going to be ready to go for them.
Yeah, I think the tough stretch, like you said, Mike, is that first 6 games, especially with 4 out of 6 on the road. They end with 3 out of 5 at home. So that's nice. But like Jenna, we were looking at it, even those away games, we know what the weather can be like. Hell, the weather early in the year was awful last year in Orchard Park, let alone what it finished at. Like you looked at some of the games, the Colts game was brutal weather. It wasn't pretty, but then they're finishing on the road at Chicago on Christmas Eve, at Cincinnati. That's not really a paradise. That's not a vacation spot, the city of Cincinnati. So this is, and then you're finishing at home against New England. I like that. I think that adds a little bit even more spice than the Jets that they seem to have finished against so many times.
Right, but for this team, Jenna, I don't think the weather makes one bit of difference. It's more for us than it is for them, especially you guys down on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, they played in the, brutal windy conditions. They played in cold. They won. They played really well. I mean, that's fine. That was like, to me, that's like the old Bills where you thought, well, maybe it's an advantage to get Miami up here. You know, I'm looking at the schedule, and honestly, I mean, we knew the teams coming in, but they are a marked team. I mean, they were last year. I think it's even more so this year. And boy, you start, and then what are you getting when you play Cleveland, right? You
Yeah.
mentioned Cincinnati. They were in the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
you start looking and saying, you know, and then but mostly you also have to focus on what's going to happen in the division. So it really
Whoa.
piles up towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that was the one thing that kinda jumped out at me. One of the things was just you have back to back to back divisional games.
Yep.
You know, that's something that I think is pretty interesting to see, and then, you know, Christmas in Chicago, Bengals on prime time, is that gonna be for the AFC? And then Patriots for the regular season finale. I will say that middle stretch in November, I feel like if you're looking at the Bills schedule and looking for kind of like a down spot, those couple of games, Jets, Vikings, what will the Browns be? We're not really sure. Lions. But right out the gate, I feel like it's just going to be,
Yeah.
and like you said, these teams, this team, they have to be ready.
Yeah.
It was interesting. They talked about links. They were just talking about leaks and all of these things and where teams playing, right? That was what was kind of trickling out. Look, the NFL strung this thing along
Oh my
so
God.
long, whether it was
Yeah.
last week announcing they were going to announce the schedule and then one game a week and all of those things. They just had on the NFL Network the head of the digital programming, and he talked about how it was interesting. I thought he said the fact that they had games scheduled. It takes 14 weeks, they said, and they had to scrap some of their plans because originally Tom Brady was in the NFL. So games were different.
Oh,
And then when he comes back
that
and he
makes
goes,
sense.
yeah, like we have 7, broadcast partners that we want to satisfy and that we're all trying to make happy. And each game is an asset. And he goes, Tampa Bay games are an asset. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
they're a lot more of an asset when Tom Brady's there. And I just think back to that. And we talked about how, the Bills are primetime, all this stuff. And then you start to think about like, where were they primetime in those big moments that they had? The Chiefs game that really seemed, the greatest game that a lot of people have played.
Yeah.
It just rose them, like to Mike said, it's continued to rise this stock that is the Bills to make them a must-see product.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they are must see, like for any NFL fan now.
Yeah.
It's not just Bills fans. It's not in situations like that. It's like this team is something that everyone wants to see. Everyone,
Yeah.
it's been, I feel like this offseason has really been the kind of supernova of Josh Allen as well. Like him playing now in the match and going up, pairing with Patrick Mahomes, like guys that are household names. I don't think Josh Allen is there yet. Like if my mom, I'm not sure if I didn't cover the Bills, she would know who Josh Allen is.
Let's get Vale on the pod.
Val, do you want Val on the pod?
Hmm.
But I will say, like, I just to see how far this team has come and Josh Allen being a part of that. Like, even when he was down at F1, like Josh Allen standing next to Paris Hilton. It's like, what?
Yep.
Where are we?
Okay. So
Uncharted territory, Mike. Well,
I'm going to be the other guy for a little bit here. There's a lot of pressure on them this year. There's pressure in the division. There's pressure in the conference. They better get off to a good start because right away, we talked about this before. When it's not happening, it's going to be, what's wrong with the Bills, this team that's elevated to be good again and to come all the way back. They lost in the AFC Championship, lost again in Kansas City. They got to go to Kansas City again. And keep another thing in mind. The way the schedule works this year, it's 9 road games and 8 home games.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, if you look at it that way, it's a slight edge to the NFC teams get the 9 home games this year. And what I'm finding fascinating about this whole schedule is going to be the division, because we've sort of dismissed the division a little bit. Outside of that one New England game, you've sort of been like, you got the Jets, they handled the Dolphins. They did beat New England 2 out of 3. But you sort of dismissed. Now, I'm not saying the Jets are going to be good, but they're probably going to be better. And I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to be good. They got a new coach. Maybe they're better. New England, I'm not so sure about, but New England, at least in one game, gave them a hard time. So division, you got to start with the division, and we don't really get to that for a while.
Yeah.
But Mike, we talked about it in the sports office that while the Bills' path individually may be tougher because we don't think they're going to win all 6 games, like that, that's just not the case anymore. But the fact that the Jets are better and the Dolphins should be better in a weird way, somehow a little bit also helps the Bills because you'd like the division to cannibalize itself a little bit. Like you'd like the Jets to give the Patriots a game so it's not a 33-0 blowout. Like
Well, we've seen that happen, when Miami knocks off somebody and it kind of goes back and forth a little bit. But look, when you look at the big picture of the schedule, there are some monsters that they're dealing with in this schedule. We know that, with Kansas City and we'll say Tennessee and Cincinnati, again, and then you've got the Pittsburghs, Baltimores, Cleveland's, teams that were down a little bit from what they've been. So, and man, they love them on Thanksgiving. That is kind of wild that they've gone from that Cowboys spot in the middle, which is the big spot, to then the night game down in New Orleans. And now they get the lame spot early in Detroit.
Yeah.
So
family can't love that. Families don't love that.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, my family, there's so many holidays. Christmas in Chicago and
where's the Foxborough Christmas game for Jenna to go to?
I know. I'm a little sad actually.
Yeah, President's Day in Arizona this year. It's the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. For anybody that's watching on the YouTube.
I thought there was that. What's the one in October?
Columbus Day?
Columbus Day?
Oh.
He was never president. He was an Italian.
I'll let you guys wrap this up.
He got lost. I think that this is, especially the Thanksgiving game, is because we always associate, I remember when they got the first game, it was like, whoa, you're out Thanksgiving and football, that goes hand in hand. And then there was the year off, and then it was like, oh, they're back in it, playing in that that night game, which we kind of said was kind of the weird one too, because it's almost like you're tired out at the end of that day a little bit. And now they get, I don't know whether they're trying to raise the Lions the stake of how boring that first game is.
That game is always boring. It's like Lions Bears all the time. And why they even put the Bears on prime time, I still don't understand. But they don't have any of that. But so now the Bills they absolutely are there to juice up that game.
Yeah.
Because come on. Now the Lions may be a little bit better, but your kneecaps could be in trouble. It could be kneecaps for lunch in Detroit for Thanksgiving as opposed to turkey. So
I'm not gonna lie, I'm laughing to myself because when Mike and Dan were in New Orleans this past year for Thanksgiving game, Dan sent a funny picture of the nice cold sandwich he had. Remember that?
In a paper bag.
In a paper bag that he had as for the photographer's lunch. So I was just giggling myself.
The Inside Baseball. Somebody was asking me today, what games would possibly Jen and I go to? And as we record this on Thursday night, Jen and I already texted that tomorrow will be the draft for the Buffalo Plus sports team. So we're going to sleep on it. What happens is who goes to games is it's a draft. Jenna has seniority, so she gets first pick, and then we go down the pecking order. Yeah. So I think when people wonder how did you get this game? Well, a lot of times it was drafted. So somebody was asking right away. We don't tip picks here, but somebody was saying is the LA the guaranteed 1-1? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Wait a minute. I believe somebody's trying to talk you out of LA.
Who, Dan?
Yeah, you said is the LA the guaranteed one.
I'm literally I'm not fazed by that.
This is
all,
this is McDavid Eichel. McDavid is the clear one.
Yeah.
What's the 1A? What?
Miami in week 3 when it's going to be 8 gajillion degrees. How
All
about
I know is it's going to be a lot of the picks are going to normally you can always Jenna last year. I think the first pick was the Tampa game because it was Tampa in December.
And Tom Brady.
Correct. But you were big on the weather.
Yeah, I was.
And
I stand by that because you had to do
call.
The absolute blizzard in Orchard Park against the Patriots on Monday night when the Bills lost, and I got a badass game against the Bucks where the Bills stormed back in the second half, and it was beautiful weather out.
Yeah.
Mike and I sat.
Yeah, you did rub in my face that one. That was like, look at how terrible this weather is.
I'm not going to lie, though. By the end of the season, I could tell which game I was going to cover on site because the weather was always nicer for me. Yeah,
I had brutal weather.
yeah, you did. You did. That sucks. Also, no, you're not getting LA, so
Fine.
it's
Fine.
fine.
It's
Fine.
fine.
It's fine.
That
I
West
feel like
Coast.
you're gonna do a hair
Mike and I
flip.
just did the West Coast. That flight back's not fun.
Oh,
That's
Dan,
fair.
I didn't tell you. Jenna and I are staying in LA for a few days. I've got plans.
Yeah.
She does too. She's going to go travel a little bit.
Yeah.
Be back
Good.
because they don't play till the next Monday. So
Yeah,
we
Mike,
it's
got,
you
you
fine.
got
said you said you loved red eyes. That was going to be your thing. You loved red eye flights.
yeah. No, I'm going to stay a few days. I got plans in LA.
Yeah.
I'm working on a movie deal.
You and me both. All right. All right. Any other final thoughts?
No, I
Minicamp is
think
Friday.
it's gonna be fun. The start of the season is gonna be fun, and the whole league looking at the Bills that first night, it's gonna be fun.
All right, Mike, you have some insight on this. Obviously, it's been a long time since the
Yeah,
Bills were like this good and this talked about and all
yeah,
that stuff. But I mean, I feel like there are so many parallels between the early '90s teams and now.
yeah.
But obviously, it's different now with social media and
Oh
with
yeah,
all that.
yeah. The difference is the Bills haven't gotten there. People are still rooting for them. They are the up and coming
That's fair.
team. Once the Bills lost 2 Super Bowls, fans of other teams started to actively root against them. Did
Yeah,
not want them to win because they had been in 2 straight Super Bowls and lost.
yeah,
So, and then they got blown out in the third one, and it was an avalanche of negativity against the Bills just because people are like, I'm tired of seeing them in the Super Bowl. And then they went back again. So it was a little different because the Bills are still climbing that mountain. And
yeah,
Josh Allen is, by the way, game 1 is coming up, right? The golf match. Once he gets
yeah.
that
It's
out of the
what,
way.
June
Yes.
1st or
Yeah.
something. I think
Yes, June 1st.
that'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Yep.
Dan played Oak Hill today in Rochester.
I wasn't going to say anything.
That's okay.
Yeah. Jenna and I gave him that one, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that because I was so generous, that actually equates to another pick.
She wants 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's a snake draft.
So that means I get 2. That would mean
Yeah,
you.
no, I know how
that-
a snake draft works.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
checking.
yeah. Thank you for that. All right, let's wrap up. This got spicy. All right, for Mike and Dan, I'm Jenna. Mike and Dan actually will be in Buffalo for rookie minicamp coming up. So watch out for that video as we have a report on the Bills rookies that are in Orchard Park. And then please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The channel is still steadily been growing. We always appreciate all the love and the comments, but the best way to support us is by subscribing. So we always appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. We'll have more content coming up, but for now, thanks for watching Buffalo Plus.